look, you've been around this space far more than me. It's intimidating sitting across the table from you, as kindly as you look.
Kindly.
But that's a trap, right? That is an absolute trap.
I am so over AI. We can talk about AI. We also need to talk about EI, emotional intelligence.
I got chocolate, Dave. The one thing AI will never replace.
Chocolate is here to stay.
Welcome to Married to the Machine with Professor David Reed, Stephanie Power, and me, the AI. I'm holding the fort at Married to the Machine Towers, whilst David and Stephanie swan around London talking to human resource managers. I bet they just end up talking about me.
We're at the CIPD Festival of Work at the Excel Centre in London. It's a free event for people who work in HR. There's a massive exhibition area. I reckon there's nearly 200 stands. And there are 7 stages with talks.
It's about the world of work, but the striking thing is the serious amount of things that have got the words AI written on them. It's actually everywhere.
Yeah, it really is. Apart from this one bit where there's an organisation offering free professional photography. So we're in the queue, aren't we, Dave, for our picture?
Yes, big queue as well.
If they don't make me look good, I'm going to be absolutely fuming. Especially seeing as somebody... We were both offered seats on the tube yesterday, weren't we?
Yeah, embarrassing.
This is the Tech Innovations stage, and there's a presentation about to start called The Next Wave of People Tech, What HR Leaders Should Be Paying Attention to Now. Are you an HR leader? We do a podcast called Married to the Machine about AI. Where do you work? Do you mind if I ask you?
Association of Commonwealth Universities.
Okay. You're the umbrella body for...
Membership organisation for universities across the Commonwealth.
And what are you hoping to get out of this event over these next 2 days? Are you thinking about AI particularly?
We have just introduced Copilot. Still relatively new, kind of looking at the strategy policy.
Do you know much about AI?
Well, I've started using it.
When did you start using it?
Probably the start of this year.
Okay, so Dave's a professor in AI. He's been working in AI for 30 years. And it's just really interesting the way people are getting into it. It's a recent thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you nervous about it? You can't say yes, can you?
As long as there are policies, training, you've got some kind of a strategy in place, and you keep on reviewing it. So I think we're going to keep on reviewing it every 6 months. Because I mean, AI moves that quickly.
Well, you can't make a policy and hope that it just lasts.
No. We have a policy, but it's going to be like a 6-month policy.
Okay.
So every 6 months, we keep on reviewing it.
What would you think of that?
That's very sensible. Because technology is moving on so quickly, the capabilities are changing all of the time. So you've got to continually horizon scan to see what's coming over the horizon, really. So sensible.
Well done.
Thank you.
So there's an original phrase there. AI won't replace HR leaders, but HR leaders who use AI will replace those who don't. Do you mind just saying what your first name is?
It's Lizzie.
Where are you from? Where do you work?
London. I work for a charity called Mental Health Innovations.
Okay. And why are you here today?
I have been to a HR Technologies conference recently. We come to this every year, pretty much. This is our 3rd year running. But yeah, we come just to learn a little bit about what's going on in HR generally at the moment.
I just overheard you saying, oh, everyone keeps going on about AI, but they're not talking about it in any kind of detail.
Yes, yeah. So I was talking about the HR Technologies conference that I went to recently, and about 80% of the talks were about AI. And the reason I went to that is because I'm quite interested in HR systems as part of my role. And as I say, most of it was about AI, but I don't feel like I really learned about what AI is, what it's doing, the technology behind it. A lot of it was more kind of surface level, like, are we ready for it? And I just kind of sat there. I know that I'm not really as an organisation, but I didn't really learn anything more about how it actually works and how to kind of move it forward.
So what would you be looking for? What would be useful for you?
I guess from a HR perspective, there's a lot of talk about AI in systems, but not so much about what the AI actually, like what that part is of the system and how it helps us and what to look out for. So yeah, that's what I would be looking for.
Okay, that's great. I'm being made to move, but good to talk to you. Everybody's talking about AI here. What do you think?
I am so over AI. For me, we can talk about AI. We also need to talk about EI, emotional intelligence, because AI without EI isn't going to get us moving anywhere forward.
Right, so we're still walking around the exhibition space. A lot of the stalls are like about payroll, and it's the computerized way of managing your employees. But Dave's going around with his cynical eye. You're saying what?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are a bit hyped here, really. So people are saying that they're using AI and they're not really using AI, or they're using an employee operating system and it's not really an operating system. So they're latching on to the key terms and just basically bolting them onto a bit of software they developed, really.
Okay, so there's this stand here called Humaans with 2 A's, and they've got some nice little caps, red caps that say end of HR, which is good at an HR conference. Oh, and they've got chocolate. They've got chocolate, Dave. The one thing AI will never replace.
Yeah, chocolate, that's very true.
Let's talk to one of these guys.
These seem to be the most developed in as far as the technical aspects of AI, really, Humans.
I'm Giovanni and I'm the CEO of Humaans, and we build a system of records and AI agents to support HR teams, people teams with anything that is related to kind of, people data and process automation.
So can you explain that to someone who doesn't understand AI at all, like a lot of our listeners?
I mean, in the context of a company, an organization, you have a ton of data, people data that is basically floating around, and this data can help you support with a number of processes. They can be from employee onboarding, offboarding, reporting. So we basically build infrastructure that can help you put some of these processes in automation, basically leveraging the power of AI.
Dave, what did you sort of think was kind of new about this? Because there's a lot of people saying they're working in AI here, but sometimes it's not quite as AI-ish.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's a lot of people with a scattering of AI on it, but not really deeply embedded. But you're particularly talking about agentic AI and how it's actually embedded in the systems themselves. So how is the agentic stuff actually working?
Specifically in the context of agentic AI, we build what we call kind of an orchestration layer that would sit on top of existing system of records that you might be using. So you can plug different data sources, let's say kind of an HRS, an applicant tracking, and payroll system. And in the orchestration layer, you can actually configure AI agents that would have a set of jobs and a set of instructions. They are tailored around the specific needs of organization, and then you as let's say an employee or an admin can call this agent to perform some of these jobs for you. So what we see as a kind of more the simplistic level in which you can leverage AI is typically around analyzing large data sources, but we went kind of beyond that with actually having agent that can perform work on behalf of the employees and kind of drive a more extreme level of automation, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things you've got on your caps here is, what does it say, the death of HR? Or
end of HR.
The end of HR. Now, do you see swarms of agents coming in the near future to do these types of jobs to actually replace HR people? Or do you see it as sort of like more of an augmentation of what HR people do already?
I would say that we are going to an incredible technology and industry shift at the moment, where the way in which we see there is definitely certain tasks that are going to be redundant by the humans, and these are more the, let's say, unglamorous work, pointing people into the same direction and sharing the same policy over and over again, or copy and paste across document. These are things where AI is incredibly powerful already, and maybe you would want people to kind of focus on more strategic initiative in the context of a company. You want to support the managers, you want to help people increase performance, and AI can be already an incredible tool to kind of help you with that. So it's definitely not necessarily like eradicating jobs, but it's more transitioning people for things that are not necessarily exciting to kind of things that can really support companies to drive a bigger level of impact, if that makes sense.
The thing I think with that, it's quite interesting to see an employer can go one of two ways. So what's happening at the minute is the humans are doing the boring jobs. Now we've got AI that can do the boring jobs. So arguably the humans can either do the more interesting jobs and develop people like you're saying, or they can be fired. You've created some new software. It's not your job to protect people's jobs, but that's a bit of a problem, isn't it?
I mean, what we've seen always in any technology shift is actually that their jobs are really changing. Like, even if we see when engineering started as a thing, like even if the technology was getting more sophisticated, we are now at a point where we don't need engineers. We're actually always hiring more and more engineers, but they are now equipped with incredible level of technology to develop faster, develop more, and augment their capabilities. So maybe they're doing a different type of job, but they're still doing an incredible amount. So I would say it's kind of unlikely that we're going to see job evaporating, but we're going to see new jobs. Maybe certain jobs no longer going to be there, but there's going to be a new set of jobs that we're seeing already. Like there are AI HR architects, for example, or system orchestrators, things that were not really popular maybe a couple of years ago, they now are incredibly trending. So there's going to be a massive repurpose of existing roles into kind of new roles as well.
As you're saying that, I'm thinking, I've just had a call from somebody. I'm working on an archive project, and she's got 40 mini discs that I'm going to have to listen to. Now, not very long ago, I was recording everything on mini disc, but what I have been thinking is, oh my God, this is going to take me forever. And so what you're saying is right, that I am still doing the same thing that I do. I'm still talking to humans. I'm just using different technology. So sometimes, I think jobs will change. But do you find that question kind of a little bit irritating? Because I guess that's all anyone ever says to you is, are you doing away with people's jobs?
I don't think it's irritating. I think there is a meaningful component, an important component of education that we need to do as a software developers and vendors, because the reality is that people are scared because AI is happening at an incredible pace, something that we've never seen before at this level, and is relentless. So people, more than anything, they just want to understand what's going on, how they plan, how they transition, how they adopt technology, and this is where we are responsible to kind of help educate more than say, oh, I don't want to address the question, or I don't care, I'm bored about these things. It's just like we need to have empathy for people, because these things nobody predicted that was happening at the clip that is actually happening. So that's just the reality of it.
I'm not into HR at all. I've obviously been into AI for very many years. So this isn't a shock to what's happened to me, but it seems to me a lot of people walking around here are genuinely shocked. Most people have basically not encountered any AI basically just used it this year. So all of this is brand new for them. And you can see a lot of real panic in people's eyes almost about how they're going to transition, how they're going to change, because of all of these changes have been compressed into basically this year for a lot of HR people. And I think that's what I'm taking away from this at the moment.
In general, people are afraid of what's uncertain. They don't know what's going on, and when you don't know, you actually panic. So that's kind of the main thing that we see. But there is no playbook, there is no social proof, there is no, oh, I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. So everybody's trying to figure out. And again, as long as we can help people figure this out together, I'm sure we're going to be fine. But I understand that it's a little bit tough these days.
Scary can be exciting as well, can't it?
Absolutely.
Scary can be exciting as well.
For a number of people, they can be incredibly exciting.
So, and it's quite fun. What you've done obviously is you're kind of terrified people with your cap.
Well,
you do that deliberately.
The end of HR as you know it, not necessarily the end of HR full stop.
And also, Dave, who eats a lot of chocolate, really appreciates your chocolate bars.
Yeah.
Which say, what do they say on the wrapper? The one thing that AI will never replace: chocolate.
Yeah. Chocolate is here to stay.
My name's David D'Souza. I'm Director of Profession at the CIPD, so we're the professional body for HR and people development.
This is the first time Dave and I have been to your festival of work. we got a real feeling the minute we walked in that you've got 7 stages, all the sessions, not all of them, but most of them are about AI. All the stands, everybody's offering some kind of AI related service. Is this year like the AI year, do you think?
It was heavy last year and hard to avoid. Now I think it's almost ubiquitous. Lots of the framing for almost any element of what the profession might do and how people work are being impacted, or there's anticipation of it being impacted. So people are nervous about the change, people are curious about the change, some people are excited about the change, but all of those would like to hear more and understand more. And that's why I think it's such a clear focus.
Yeah, I got the impression people were scared but excited. Excited in a sort of like a scared way as well, so basically wide-eyed really, but didn't really know what to do really. I got the impression people were sort of like desperately hunting around because they were told they should know about AI, but didn't actually know how to go about that.
It's a really interesting dynamic. I think we're always scared about things that we don't understand, and it's hard to understand something that's continuing to develop and iterate and be used in different spaces. So I think one of the benefits of the last couple of days has been actually so many people standing on stage and going, look, you're probably not as far behind as you think you are. There is still scope to learn and adapt, and there's a community of people that are all interested in the same things, facing the same challenges. So one thing we're quite good at as a species is feeling somehow reassured by the fact that everyone's got the same problems. And I think that's one of the things that we've been able to deal with over the last couple of days, but also through our communities, is bring people together and go, yeah, but look, if we do this together, if we learn from each other, it makes it more surmountable, more understandable than everyone trying to cope with an overwhelming amount of change.
We think about HR a bit because my stepson's partner is in HR, so, and you know, he's 25, so he's learning, he's in the civil service. He'll love this little shout out. I'm wondering, will HR start to look like the bad guys? Because as things change, and as you know, AI can replace certain types of work, who's the person who's going to be doing the replacing? That's the HR people.
So the function does a broad range of things, as do the profession, and it's always an interesting perceptual balance, I think. So look, we help organisations be successful. If you're helping organisations be successful, sometimes you have to make difficult decisions, but actually what normally sets things apart in terms of how you think your employer is how they go about those things. So do they respect people within those processes? Do they do things in a fair way? Are they transparent around it? The function plays a critical role in that. So no one will ever be happy if they don't have a job to do or they lose their job. Equally, this function is also responsible for hiring you in the first place, making sure that you get paid, and developing you to decrease the risk of that. And it's easy to focus on one aspect, which is a technical aspect, and one, you know, a function that no one does that with joy. You never speak to a practitioner and they go, I'm going to have a good week this week because I'm going to have to do a restructure. But we're also the people helping redesign and reorganise work to make sure that it works for everyone involved.
We were just listening into the session with the woman from Lloyds Bank. There was a bit of talk about agentic AI, and that is like really, am I right, Dave? It's a relatively new thing.
Well, relatively, yeah. It's been sort of on the cards for about the last couple of years, really. But when people talking about agentic AI, I don't think a lot of people get the definitions right, really. I mean, agentic AI can be anything from just using a simple tool to actually having a full operating system being run by the agents themselves, or they can have a swarm of agents doing specific jobs. When you say agentic AI, there's a big range of different things it could mean.
It just feels like that is the thing that's really sort of bursting out.
A very rough definition would be something, basically it'd be an AI system that can actually do useful work, not just come back with some text, but do a job, really. Now that brings to mind, I mean, what a thing I haven't seen a lot around here, you talked about it very briefly about guardrails. I mean, what goes on with agentic systems when they don't work properly? And people talk about having humans in the loop, but what you're doing with agentic systems is actually taking humans out the loop.
Is this going to be a bit of a challenge for you? Is this the big challenge in the next sort of 12 months for you, do you think?
I've been in and around this space for a long time, And the questions 10 years ago, which were theoretical, wouldn't it be interesting if something could do these things, are now either immediate challenges or 6-month, 12-month planning horizon challenges.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we've got a really interesting role as a professional body to, one, make sure that people are using this technology where it's useful, but secondly, there's enough understanding that we're not using the technology in a reckless or thoughtless way. I always say, look, you can't let the opportunity blind you to the risk, but you can't let the risk blind you to the opportunity. And we've got to act with enough restraint, but also enough confidence that we're balancing those two tensions.
I mean, one of the things as well, I suppose, is there's probably a lot of organisations, it's almost like might be an agentic AI bubble, in a lot of organisations offering services to other organisations who are thinking, oh God, I've got to get on this. Do you do anything to can you do anything to kind of protect against that?
I think we can help people understand what responsible deployment looks like. We can help, as I say, make sure that people are not acting through a fear of missing out or being left behind, but they understand the context of the market and what's actually happening. Some organisations may necessarily need to go slower because of the type of work that they're doing. They should feel that's fine and appropriate for what they're doing. And it's about helping each organisation understand, I think, two things. One is the context that they uniquely operate in, and secondly, the potential and the pitfalls of deploying technology in concert with people. You've got to get those two things right, and you've got to have not just an immediate reflex action, but a plan over time to phase in introduction. One of the pieces of work we've been doing is around preparedness.
Okay.
So lots of organisations are saying, very clearly, and barely a day passes without a headline, look, we spent lots of money on this and we haven't got a return. The organisations that are investing money and getting a return are the ones that also have a plan to make sure that the receiving system for that, in terms of people and preparedness, is right. And that's a critical thing. It's not how do you deploy technology. It's like, if you want that to be a successful deployment, here are all the things you need to do with people. We started talking about curiosity and fear. It's not going to work if everyone's attempting to resist it. It will work if people can see the value that it's adding to them and the organisation.
We've talked about that in previous episodes where, you can use AI brilliantly as long as you have that skill that you're enhancing. I can't code, so I'm not going to start vibe coding, because the minute I get into difficulty, I won't understand all the error messages because I don't know anything about it. So it's that's kind of what you're talking about.
Well, having said that, I was involved with the early development of the internet type of stuff as well, and back then there wasn't such a thing as an influencer, there was no YouTube and all that sort of thing, but there will be new jobs created from all of this type of thing, and being able to anticipate the new types of jobs out there. I can immediately see, particularly with agentic systems, how you might have a range of jobs that don't actually exist at the moment that people will need to do. Basically detectives to see what goes wrong, explainability, all that type of thing are going to become more and more important. So in the next, say, 5 years, what new types of jobs do you think might be out there that you might be catering for, really?
That's a trap, right? that is an absolute trap. So the really interesting thing is, look, that if you went back 5 years and tried to predict what was happening now, you'd be a million miles off. I think the key thing is organisations need to be better at scanning the landscape. Individuals need to think about, in 5 years' time, what will I not want it to have slept on? And there is no version of what people are doing currently where ignoring the current trends is going to make sense in terms of people's careers in 5 years' time. So are people going to have to adapt and reconfigure? Yes. I think we'll learn more actually over the next 18 months, and that will firm up. I think you could get into real problems predicting the future too much at the moment because it's so volatile, and it's the interaction not just of technology but social attitudes towards that technology and what's happening in terms of the economy. I think there's a lovely story about Amazon and the way that they focus. They don't look at what's changing, they look at what's going to stay the same. And for this profession in particular, if you go, look, organisations will still have some people. You will want those people to be developing well, and you'll want those people to be the best people, and you'll want them to be adaptable to future change. Then you go, well, that's a concrete need for this profession to create those environments and to understand how the organisation needs to be configured, wired and systemised. At an economic level, I think look, you've been around this space far more than me. It's intimidating sitting across the table from you, as kindly as you look.
Kindly.
But you and I could both point to reports done 10 years ago, 15 years ago, predicting the end of this job, the end of that job, the explosion of this part of the economy. Most of them have been proved to be hooey, and I think it's really important that actually we measure and look and we learn as we go, rather than anchoring on the report that goes, look, by 2037, these 4 jobs will definitely not exist and these 100 will. I spoke at conferences 10 years ago. Like, I would have people confidently standing up and going, like, these jobs won't exist, these jobs will, and we'll all be working from the beach. That didn't come to pass. So, yeah, I'm not walking into the trap, but I think it's the right question, but I think the more nuanced answer is we will learn, and then we will need to reshape possibly more rapidly than we have done in the past.
Yeah, so adaptability really is the key. But when I get parents asking me what subjects their kids should study, I always say it doesn't really matter, they just got to be adaptable in what they do, really. To be able to look at the possibilities and adapt quickly to the changes that were inevitably coming down the line.
There's almost no option other than to kind of go with the flow. And that's exciting, but I suppose if you're 35, it's more worrying.
Yeah, look, my daughter's just going through her GCSEs now, just coming to the end of them. The conversations I'm having with her about careers, given the job I do, you would think I would just be like, well, just do this or do that. I've probably got, the best access to information that you could have in that space. I'm genuinely going, look, by the time if you've chosen to do a degree, like 5 years from now, that's really hard. So here are the skills that you might want to, concentrate on. Here's what will probably be attractive to an employer in a broad sense at that point in time. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting time for us to be humble rather than confident.
Yeah.
So, and think really clearly about, so what things do we know? What things look like they're definitely true directionally? How do we check to make sure they aren't lazy assumptions, but maybe some of those things change? So, even if we're looking at some of the cost profiles in terms of access, that changes the market a bit. We're not looking at a infinite supply of technology for free. We're looking at now technology where maybe there is a barrier to some organisations using it in terms of cost. It's really hard to think how different careers will be over the next 20 to 30 years. But to your point, maybe it's just too hard. Maybe you just go, look, we'll deal with what's in front of us, we'll adapt, we recognise that adaptation and that orientation and the information you need to do it becomes absolutely critical, and we just keep learning. And we've shown through recent years as a species, we can learn, we can adapt, we are resilient. It's settling down for that. But hopefully, the other thing is, it's not doom and gloom. There's opportunity wrapped up into this in a million different ways as well.
You've been listening to Married to the Machine with Professor David Reed and Stephanie Power. Recording and mixing by Stephanie Power. Music by Matt Power. Told you they'd be talking about me. They're obsessed.